Hello everybody, this is a little tutorial on how to make a dragon eye. The kit that I provided has 4 different colors. It has some magnets with some sticky on the back, and it has a flat marble. What I recommend is that you get your clay out and keep them separated, because if they touch, they're bonded for life. So what you want to do is you want to test to see which one you think the marble looks best on. And I personally, I like it on this really pale orange or peachy color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll that into a ball, and then I'm going to kind of slightly roll it into more of like an egg shape, and then I'm going to flatten it out like this. I don't want to excuse me, I don't want to flatten it too much, because if I flatten it too much, then it'll be too thin and that wouldn't be good. So that's going to be my base for my dragon eye. Then I'm going to take my marble and I'm going to place it inside, push it down a little bit, and then push the clay over top of it. If you would like, you can take a Sharpie and you can draw a pupil, a nice slanted pupil on the eye. It's totally up to you. You don't have to do that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit more of this clay. I'm going to roll it into a sphere, and then I'm going to roll it into a snake. If you get any kind of creases, like, I don't know if you can see that one right there. I've got a crease. I also have a cup of water, and so I'm going to help smooth that out so that there's not a crease with the water. If the clay starts to dry out and is hard to work with, all you need to do is get some water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to help make an eyelid. So I'm going to put this over top of that, the eye that I just put in there. And then I'm going to loop this around all the way. And so that makes like an eyelid. And I could even make it go a little bit closer, but that's just kind of the base of it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some scales. So there's more than one way to make scales, but one way to make them is I'm going to make some itty bitty spheres and then squish them flat. I'm going to add them down here at the bottom, which is why I said it's okay if you don't add them all the way up to the eyelid. Oh man, got it stuck on there. Okay. So I'm going to make these, and you want them to overlap each other just a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to switch colors real fast, and I'm going to make some spiky scales sticking up at the top of the eye. So instead of round, I'm going to make some spikes. So I roll it into a sphere shape, but then I apply pressure to only half of the sphere and it turns it into a cone, and then I'm going to squish it a little bit and turn it. So I'm going to add some of those. Oh, well, okay, so sphere, cone. Squish it a little bit, flatten it just a little bit. This clay is very soft, so it does not take much pressure, and then it's very sticky to itself, so it doesn't take much to get it to stick to itself, which is a good and a bad thing. It's just something that you need to be aware of. Okay, so I'm going to roll, and this time I'm going to do this. I'm going to make some cone shape, and I'm going to squish them flat, but I'm going to put them down here, and then I'm going to alternate between a green and a purple scale. So I'm going to make a sphere, and then a cone, and then squish it flat gently, and then I'm going to put it like that. Okay, now I'm going to alternate back to the purple, and I'm going to make a pattern. I want you to use your imagination, and I want you to not necessarily go off of exactly what I'm doing. I want you to think of different ways and different techniques that you can think of to make a cool dragon. So making a sphere, then I'm making a cone, then I'm squishing it flat a little bit, and then I'm adding it. And so I'm just going to keep that pattern going. Okay, so I completed that pattern, and now I'm going to add some more to this part up here. And this part I'm going to make some itty bitty teeny tiny little scales, and I'm going to just put the spheres on there as little spheres, rolling them in my little fingers, my old lady fingers. My hands deceive people. My hands make me look like an old lady. So I'm going to use this paintbrush, and you can use a pencil or a pen. There are tons of different things that you can find around your house to be able to achieve this texture right here. So I'm just going to use this, and I'm going to push it down these little spheres and make a completely different type of scale. So these are itty bitty little purple spheres that I'm adding. To the top part. I think I'm gonna switch it up and add a little bit of green. Again, use your imagination, come up with as many different ideas that you can think of. Try different things. Encourage you to experiment on different things that you think would look cool to make a scale. So now I'm going to use this, and I'm going to, the end of my paintbrush, now I'm going to add a few more spiky scales, but this time I'm going to use green. And they're going to be teeny tiny. one thing that I've noticed is a lot of people get very nervous about making mistakes. And so I want to encourage you to not be nervous and to practice making mistakes with your art, because it's a good way to learn. As long as you learn from your mistakes. So don't be scared. All right, so that's my dragon eye. Pretty happy with it. I'm going to add another scale right here. I provided enough clay to have extra after you've made your dragon eye. So if you mess up and you're not happy with it, you can always recreate it and make another one. Once it's completed and it's completely dry, it takes about 24 hours for it to completely dry. What you'll want to do is pick it up and attach these little magnets to the back of it so that you can attach it to your refrigerator. So they're a little bit sticky. If they're not sticky enough, you can always use Elmer's glue or a hot glue gun to make sure that you attach those to the back. But you'll want to wait for it to dry before you do that. So happy creating, guys. Don't be worried about making mistakes. Experiment.